I am going to begin today's video with a little bit of a fable, a little bit of a story time, and the story begins like this. Once upon a time, there was a man named Earl. Now, Earl had saved for much of his life. He was a CEO at a company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Earl had been married a few times, maybe more along the way, and although he stockpiled a lot of money, those marriages did end in divorce, every single one of them. And by the time Earl was 78, he was done. He was retiring. He was leaving family in Michigan, and he was moving to the villages. Now he had visited the villages quite often. He would fly in, and then someone would pick him up, usually a lady friend that he had met somewhere else in his travels across the world. So he decided, having visited the villages a week here, a week there, that was the place he wanted to move. He ran into an agent. He engaged with the agent and decided to let said agent help him find a home. However, Earl, being a former CEO and a man that had been married multiple times over and divorced multiple times over, he did not like taking the advice of a female real estate agent. And he determined that he needed to make subsequent offers on homes that the agent was telling him were not wise. They were not wise offers to be making, especially during the COVID years. Now, he did run into an ethical agent who was saying, Earl, if you don't like it here, you're going to have overpaid and you're going to be stuck in the villages. And he argued and said he knew the numbers. He was a numbers guy. He was a CEO. He was a CFO. Don't tell him what to do. So the end of the fable is that Earl ended up marrying someone in the villages and divorcing that same person in the villages, and he then could not sell his home because he would not listen to his agent that he was actually overpaying. So what ended up happening to Earl? Earl did ultimately sell his property for a very substantial loss, and he moved to Lido Key. So that's the end of the story there. I don't want you to be Earl. So what I want to talk to you today about are some of the lies, maybe we can call them alternative facts, that are going on in the villages. Now, the reason that I tell you these things is because I don't want you to be Earl. I really don't. And there are some of you out there that are on the fast track to Earldom. Okay, can we put it that way? You're on the fast track to that because you want to tell everybody they're wrong, and in the end, it's your money to spend. You know, can we just agree? In the end, it's your money to spend. So let me help you with this because there are some things that you need to know as it relates to the villages that I think would be really helpful for you. Now, as always, before somebody gets on their fake account, by the way, you may not know that if you have multiple fake accounts, when you type a message out, me as a YouTuber, I have a way to click here, and click there, and I can see what your actual name is. So I'm just putting it out there. Before you do it, I'm just putting it out there. So I know there's somebody out there letting me know that what I'm about to say is completely wrong. And listen, I'm just going to tell you, these are facts. So we're going to dive into this. Now, first and foremost, I don't hate the villages at all. Is the villages for me? Not right now, not at this point in my life. I never say never, but no, the villages is not somewhere for me for many reasons. But that doesn't mean it's not for you. Who cares? I'm not here to spend your money. You spend your money. So I'm here to give you the facts, and then you decide how it lives in your world. But I feel like I'm doing you a disservice if I don't tell you the good with the bad. And as I always say, anybody can tell you the good. You can look up the good things about the villages anytime you want, and there are lots of them, especially if you enjoy golfing, especially if you want to be around people of your own age. So let's just jump up on screen here for a minute. I'm going to scoot over and pop something. So you can see here, The Villages is the top selling planned community in 2024 and many years running. So the Villages, the top selling planned community for the 11th year in a row, January 2024. So you can see here, a lot of home sales, and we're not going to get really recent data just because, we're just ending 2024. Lots of good things going on in the Villages. So I want to point out something though that's also important to know. So the Villages is a 55 plus community. Don't know if you knew that or not, but it is in Central Florida. So let's stop right there. What I want to share with you is that outside of the Villages, and the Villages is really big, covers a lot of square miles. It's big, but if you get outside of the Villages, you may not be super impressed. You may not. It is kind of like driving through Joe below average area. Like the area surrounding the Villages, you probably would not plan a vacation. You probably would not plan a vacation to. There is literally nothing to do. It's kind of old Florida, but old Florida in a way like old settlement Florida almost. There is just nothing there. So you do have a little feel of the haves and the have-nots. That is prevalent there. And again, that's a huge master plan community. So it's not like it's a tiny little neighborhood where that's happening. This is a big community. But again, when you get outside of the community, you can bump into a little bit of resentment from the locals that weren't into that. They didn't move to the area for that, and they're not super excited as the Villages continues to grow and all of these people come into what is their home base. And also keep in mind, the folks that work in the Villages and make a living there, they're coming from outside the area. So you can get a little bit of that, and you should be aware of that. Now, one other thing that I want to show you, because I do get this question pretty often, which is, I'm 45. Can I live in the Villages? I'm 40 years old. I would love to live in the Villages. So here is what is the actual rule. And this is not only in the Villages, this is in all of Florida. It's called an 80-20 rule. So, and I get this question often, so I really want to bring this home to you. This can be something that occurs in manufactured homes as well, little mobile home park communities. People will ask often because of affordability, can I move in if I'm 45? So that 80-20 rule does apply all over Florida. The 80-20 rule is a provision under the Housing for Older Persons Act of 1995, and it stipulates that at least 80% of the units in a 55 plus community must have at least one resident aged 55 or older. The remaining 20% can be occupied by residents of any age. So, well, it depends. Are you married to somebody that qualifies? Because that's the key to it, is that you do have to be married to somebody, or not married to them, somebody in the household. So it could be a partner, it could be a whatever, significant other, or just a roommate. Someone else in the household has to be over 55. So that's the way it works. Now, there could be some yeah buts in there. There are some communities that say the person you have to be married to. Sometimes they'll say it can't be mother and son. So there's all kinds of caveats in there, but the big umbrella is the 80-20 rule. But keep in mind, you get into segments, and the neighborhood's going to go, you'll go down to the smallest entity. That's going to be the governing body who makes the decision. Now, let's get into some drilled down numbers. So let's talk about November 2024. So that is the latest data that we have out, being that we are still, as I'm filming this video, it's December 2024. We're at the end of it, but it is December. So the data has come in, but it's for November of 2024. Now, when I looked, I've got my notes here, there were 141 homes in the Villages that had sold in November of 2024. Now that is including single family homes, manufactured homes, and basically villas. That's what you're going to have in there. So that's everything combined. In that combination, average days on market is about 67 days, and climbing. Because as I look through that data, those numbers, there are quite a few that are well over 100 just sitting on the market, Now, here's the other thing, and this is what kind of bothers me, and you really need to know this if you're thinking about buying in the villages. We have our MLS system where we can see data, we can see all the info, we can see the tax records, but there's something called they call it the VLS, and that's the village's website. Let me pop that up for you. So I'm gonna leave it here. So here it is right here. This is thevillages.com. This, to me, I'm just going to say I have transparency issues with this, because what can happen is if a home has a bunch of price drops, needs a seller's disclosure, information that we require as real estate agents that are important that we pass on to you, we can't see that if you go and you buy a home from the village's website, what they call the VLS. So I'm just going to click on something here. So do they have good information? Sure. They're going to present the house in the best light as possible, which anybody would. I don't fault them for that at all. But there's, like, for example, right here, and we'll take a look around. So you can see they have some nice information in here. They have a little write-up. Sometimes folks think that this is coming from the MLS. It is not. It is not. So this will skew data. Remember Earl at the beginning of the video? This is how Earl went wrong, because Earl's agent needed to compile data not just from the MLS but also from the VLS to see what numbers really did look like. And on the Village's website, these folks work for the Villages, so you can draw your own conclusion from that, but you do have some data in here. You have, some information that you would of course need. You've got pictures that you can look through. It's definitely a nice website, but that said, as an agent, we can't always access the things that we need to see through there, and when we're doing a comp, we have to be aware that you've got two places you need to be pulling from. Otherwise, somebody could purchase at the completely wrong number. See, as you can see here, as I move through this doesn't show the days on market like our MLS does. This doesn't show contracts that have fallen through like our MLS does. This doesn't give you a seller's disclosure like our MLS does. This doesn't give you a lot of information that we need that would help you make a better offer on a property. It's just lack of transparency, in my opinion. You also can't see the fall throughs. So what if this property was originally, let's say, and this happens a lot, let's say this property was listed for $400,000 12 months ago. Now they want $485,000. In the MLS, I can look at that old listing and I can say, did they do anything at all did they put a pool in? Did they do anything at all? So that's one thing that I really don't care for, and you do have to be careful with it. Here's another example. We're looking at it right now on the screen. When people throw in furniture, golf carts, things like that, that can skew value. So for me, when I'm making an offer, if something is turnkey, and by the way, I looked this up, 86% of homes in the villages, 86%, other than what I can see here in this VLS, because I can't see it, but in the MLS, I can see that 86% of homes sold turnkey furnished. So your choices are unfurnished, which means you're getting a vacant home, furnished, which means you're getting major furnishings. So you're getting like the couch, the chair, big pieces of furniture. And then the last one is turnkey. And turnkey means you're getting everything. You're getting the spoons, the forks, the knives, the television, everything. You're getting the linens, absolutely everything. Turnkey. 86% went like that. Now, if you spent Think about this. If I sat down with you at the table and I said, what do you want to sell your home for? And you said, well, I'd sell it for $350,000. And then your wife said,
yeah, but Jim, we spent $100,000 furnishing this place.
Well, we don't want to take that with us. We're going to go back to Michigan, and we don't need all this pink flamingo furniture, and we don't need the golf cart. We don't need all this stuff. So what do you want to, we need to leave it. Well, I'm not just going to leave it for free.
This is beautiful pink flamingo furniture. Our bed is wicker. I love our pink wicker bed. There's no way.
So they add $100,000 to the price of the home, and then Jim says, I paid $15,000 for the golf cart. I'm not leaving that. So the price gets built up. If 85% of the homes are selling like that, you essentially are paying more than retail for somebody's used furniture. So for me, when I see something going turnkey, I like to say, what kind of value did they put on the furniture? And you need an answer on that, because maybe you don't want their pink wicker. Maybe you don't want their flamingo whatever couch that they have. You have to know to break things out so that your value is actually reflective of the real estate value. Now, why, you might be thinking, why are you attributing this to the villages? Isn't that going on everywhere, Barrett? The answer is yes. If you're buying in a resort area, it is common, but 86% is the highest I've ever seen. And it's totally fine if they build it in at zero value, but if they don't, that's a different story. And you know, the best way to shake that out is to ask. And if you don't believe that they're building it in at zero value, then you can say, I'm going to make X offer, but you take the furniture. So I hope that helps, and I hope that at least gives you an idea of how to best negotiate a deal in the villages. As always, if I can be of any help, my team and I cover the entire state of Florida. Happy to help. My contact information is always below.